Hello, thanks for allowing us into your homes. Recently, I heard a story about a lady whose husband threw her out of the house because she had all girls. And I decided on our series, You and Your Health, to talk about whose responsibility it is actually to supply that which will produce a son. Not as if a son is more important than a daughter, but then God does as he pleases. Today I have a fertility expert, Professor Ashiru, who is always so gracious to come and educate us on some of this matter. Don't go anywhere. This promises to be very interesting and very educative. My name is Yudi. You're welcome.
I had the first daughter. By the time I had the second daughter, I was like, you are coming in here to sit down, make girls, eh? The brother will call, my brother, it's like you people will soon open a convent too. And it will hurt me. I was now pregnant for my third daughter and I was so beaten. I was so beaten. I was beaten to a pulp. By the time they now took me to the hospital and I could not hold it any longer. Number one, I became devastated because every day he keeps telling me, I hope that thing inside of you is not a baby girl. If it's a baby girl, make sure you just pack yourself and go back to your father's house. My God, I was like, God, I don't know. I don't want to disgrace my parents. So by the time I got to having this third pregnancy and we had a disagreement and he beat me up and they took me to the hospital. By this time, my pregnancy was about 6 months and 3 weeks and 4 days exact. So when I got to the hospital, I told the doctor, I was very weak. So and then the doctor checked and found out this date, 6 weeks, 6 months, 3 weeks and 4 days, and told me, Madam, we can bring out this baby for you. I said, please. So I went in and they brought out my last daughter.
So they brought out your last daughter at 6 months?
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
And 4 days old. And
born premature, and they put her in the incubator.
And put her in the incubator. And then she turned out to be a baby girl. So and by the time they brought out the baby, and he now came round and discovered it was a baby girl. And then discovered it was even a premature. He went in and told the doctors, why don't you kill this thing? That was where the doctors held him and gave him a beating. I didn't know. I was in my own room while the baby was up there. He didn't even come to see me first. He went to see the baby and to find out the sex of the baby. So and then when he found out and opened his mouth to make that pronouncement, the doctors first gave him a beating before I now saw people running into my room, and then the doctor goes, excuse me, could this thing be your husband? And I was so ashamed. And I said yes. So that was it. Now, because the child was a baby girl, he now said he was not going to pay that. He now pretended as if he couldn't afford paying for us being in the incubator. He now told the hospital authorities to discharge us from the hospital. There was this man of God, I'm sorry to say, that when my first daughter had her baby, and she had the first set of twins, they were girls, and then my second daughter had her first baby and it was a girl. A minister of God now turned around to say, I hope the thing that happened to your mother will not happen to you. Is it that your generation can't have male children? And I heard and I went to God. I said, Jehovah God, that was not directed to me. It was directed to you. Because I know in your word you say you created them male and female. So it is left for you now to provide my males before people will laugh at you, not me. And to God be the glory. 2010, in 1 year, March 16th, I had my first male grandson. October 1st, 2010, I had my second. A week or two, it will reoccur, and nobody ever bothered to ask, what is the problem? Why are you, what is wrong with you? But they will go to him and he will say, no, nothing. Grace is just being too proud, and I don't like the way she walks. She walks as if she owns the world and all of that. And that was just it. That was just his problem. And then, besides, I had all girls.
We tell stories, and we love to hear stories. Most especially stories of human beings surviving trouble. And we all need the encouragement, discovering that others have been afflicted as we, and they have found a way to the other side. In stories are pain and struggles and failure.
Well, whatever, I accept it. You are still the God of my life.
And I didn't know I'm a sickler until I was age of 13.
I suffered.
And also of laughter and wisdom.
You learn that without God you are nothing.
And grace.
There was grace that brought me this far, and only grace can lead me on.
And you don't have to be good with words to tell them powerfully.
Oh, see, they were like this. Take. You know when you are coming, you want to enter somebody's
Yes.
house. Their legs were
On the window.
Mba. When they had OPC, the leg went back, bam. Father, I thank you.
Join us as we celebrate the story behind the glory, and that to the glory of God. Prof, thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you for always
Welcome to your
honoring our
program.
invitation.
You're welcome.
Prof, recently, we hear men abuse women for all kinds of reasons. And the one that we know is very rampant, it's the one where men actually abuse their wives, hit them, divorce them, throw them out of the house, or sometimes marry second wives because the woman has committed, according to them, the worst crime by giving them all daughters. Thank God you have all daughters.
True.
And thank God you're a gentleman, because girls are as important as boys. I have one daughter, and I would not trade her in for 20 sons, to tell you the truth. And so, Prof, you're going to be educating us on fertility and who actually is supposed to supply that produces a son.
Yes.
So that we actually know who to hold responsible when we produce daughters.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So, Prof, thank you, and once again, welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. I mean, to begin with, I think I also want to echo what you just said.
Yes.
I have 3 daughters, and I think if I have to go through it again, I will have the 3 daughters. They are irreplaceable with boys. But also, to also say that if you have 3 daughters, you end up having maybe 3 sons-in-laws. And that, at the end of the day, gives you all the
Balances
pleasure you
that.
want. Yes. But to the main question as to what and who dictates the sex of a child, it is very important for people to know that the sex of a child is determined solely and solely by the man. And for you to understand that, is that you have to know the anatomy, genetic composition of a woman or a female child, and the genetic composition of a male child. Anatomically, a female child is composed of 2 chromosomes that make up the female, and these are the so-called X and X chromosomes. Those 2 chromosomes that make up a girl is made up of 1 X chromosome from the mother and the other X chromosome from the father. Whereas a boy is made up of 2 chromosomes again, an X and a Y. The X is made up of the chromosome that came from the mother, and the Y is from the father. Which means that any man that you see going about in the street has 2 chromosomes in him, the X chromosome and the Y chromosome. The X is from the mother and the Y is from the father. What that translates into is that it is the man that will constitute the Y, that will allocate or distribute the Y to the mother's eggs in order to have a boy. If the man constitutes the eggs that he's got to the mother's eggs, it will be a girl. Now, some people think that and there have been a lot of medical, I would say chemical process that may enhance the process in which the woman in the female passage, genital passage, will allow maybe the Y chromosomes to move better than the X chromosomes, or that maybe at the time of ovulation, if that was the time they had intercourse, it may be more of the Y chromosomes that will move to fertilize the female. And there has also been theories that state that if the female genital passage is more alkaline, the Y chromosomes can move better than when it is acidic. But you know, I have good news for you, and that is that sometimes the male may have all eggs carrying sperm in it. And we discovered this when we began to do PGD, pre-genetic diagnosis for sex. Some people come to us and say they want to have boys. So we take the wife, we take them through stimulation, so we get eggs from them. And in some of these particular instances, we got up to about 10 eggs from the woman, from the wife, and we went through in vitro fertilization to use the sperm produced by the husband to fertilize those eggs. And we got, in this case, 8 embryos. So, when these embryos are now taken for analysis, they turned out that all the 8 embryos that we got were all XX embryos. They were all female.
But the man supplied the sperm.
The man supplies the sperm. So the eggs came from the woman, and the eggs of the man's sperm. It's only the sperm that had the X chromosome that fertilized, and all were XX, which means they were all female. So we told the man, and he said, well, that is a pity.
He said that is a pity?
Yes. And since he was looking for
a boy.
And what we then did was I had to go back into research as to maybe what is it that a man can do so that the population of the Y carrying sperm will be more than the S carrying sperm, so that we can pick up the Y carrying chromosome. And that was precisely what was done. This man came back, and when I told him, he took this combination of medication, which included some antioxidants that may help the Y chromosome. So the next time they came for this procedure, they now had 3 of the embryos were now XY, which means boys,
male,
and 2 were XS. And we transferred
Prof, hold that thought. Don't go anywhere. You're getting educated. We'll see you after this time out. You You're welcome back. Yes, Prof, you were saying, so you went back to the lab and then he produced the boy?
Yes, the XX and the XY. So we transferred the XY chromosomes to the mother, and she ended up getting pregnant, and it was a boy. Actually, twin boys were produced by this process. So the implication of this is that it is being shown from our scientific observations that, and we all know that from genetics anyhow, that the Y chromosomes is only coming from the man, from the husband.
That's the
It's
Y
not.
chromosomes that will enable a boy to be produced.
Absolutely. So the woman, in all fairness,
Has no...
in all truthfulness, has nothing to do with the outcome of whether the boy,
The child is a boy.
the child is a boy
Or a
or
girl.
is a girl, because the woman has XX and it can only produce X, either the X1 or the X2 for the child that is going to be born, whereas the man has X and Y. So it's X that will make the X1 of the woman and become an XS, a female, or the Y that will become a boy. So, but when you look at the overall desire, I think that in this country and generally in the world, we need to be very, very careful about this issue of preferential desire for a boy or for a girl. Because the truth is that there is no difference between a boy and a girl worldwide. Now we now see that, in fact, females are holding office that people did not think they could do. In America, a female is the Secretary of State.
We have women even here in Africa.
Absolutely.
We have the
as
Ellen
president,
Johnson Sirleaf.
yes,
in
president,
Liberia.
and in Germany we have female.
In Argentina.
Yes, and beyond that, really, and I also put this when we talk about infertility. We are on this earth alone on ourselves, and whether you have a boy or a girl, or whether you have none, no child is going to leave your name. So people should disabuse themselves that a child that they have will relieve their name.
Or carry on the family. They always say they want a boy that will carry on the family name.
It doesn't happen like that. Who is carrying the family name of Winston Churchill today? Or come home to Nigeria. Who carries the family name of Ahmadu Bello or Awolowo? It is what he did on earth. It is his own contribution that is being remembered for. Men, we human beings on earth, cannot have a name or a event remembered by the children we bring to earth. It can only be known for the goodness we do on earth, and that is it. I mean, we only remember people by what they've done. Awolowo, for example, Akintola, not by the children they left on earth. And there are instances that, in fact, those children have done worse than their parents did. So, you know, it was better not being...
Never to have been born. Better not to have
not
been
to
born.
have been remembered through the children, but through them. And really, I want to re-emphasize that fact that men, particularly from some parts of this country, must stop to think that not having a boy or a male child is because their wife is responsible. It's just unscientific, totally unscientific, and they should just disabuse themselves of that fact. It may be if they recognize the fact that they themselves are the responsible
for the sex
for this issue, then they may look for help and seek. I can tell you now, I've been able to help at least about 6 people who now took some medication to increase their Y population as opposed to the X, if that's what they want. than to keep blaming the issue.
And beating her.
And at the end of the day, anyhow, really and truly, you may do all that.
And still not have the boy.
And you may still have a girl. Because
God
who
gives you.
gives?
Yes.
Everything is from above.
God gives you.
What we are doing in science, when they came to us, they thought that with science it can happen. But science is still controlled from above, and it may still not happen. So you should be happy to take what will happen, the Almighty. That is my...
What would you say to a woman who is being blamed and she's there looking like losing her self-confidence and looking very devastated and forsaken just because she's had all girls? Prof, don't answer that question. You'll answer it when we come back. You're welcome back. So, Prof, what would you say to a woman who is suffering because she...
I think
because sometimes you even find out that the women get so worried and, and look so devastated because they don't have sons. Sometimes the men don't even bother. It's the women who worry themselves.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. I think that it is, to me, it is primitive for a woman to think like that and to be wanting this son and to want to kill herself for a son. Why? Because what is this son going to do for you? Sometimes this son, they may become a drug addict. Because by the time you have them, you will now over-pamper this boy that the boy is spoiled beyond whatever. Whereas, what you should pray for is to have a good and healthy child that is like a blessing from above. Whether it's a boy or a girl, a good child can do more than, you know, if it's a boy or a girl, can do more than, you know, a good girl will do more for you than you can imagine. What do you want from this child? Anyway, she doesn't belong to you at the end of the day, or he is going to get married and go out and start his own family. So why we should begin to disabuse ourselves of possession of children? We don't own them. We are just a tool to bring them. So becoming now selective and egocentric about wanting a boy, or you know, is out of this way. Now, why I say it's primitive is because really and truly, if you have a girl and you concentrate on them, she can do the best and you can be proud of her 10 times over than boys. And if there is problem and you are being harassed in the house, go into the internet and look for science book to show the man that, hey, all I have is XS. Well, why is the Y I'm going to give you unless I'm XXY? Which is a different anatomically abnormal person. Unless I'm XXY, I can't give you the Y you are looking for from me. Hey, there is nothing in me that has a Y. The Y is supposed to come from you, and if you are not giving me, it's tough luck. There's nothing I can do about that. I know this is difficult for people to comprehend. It may sound revolutionary, but it is the truth. And men must begin to understand that. It is when they did understood this factor that they started taking science, PGD, sex selection to look for boy. And in that process, I'm telling you now that it's not 100% foolproof that some men, I was surprised, I was shocked myself when I looked in the sperm population of men, and we treated this with eggs, and they became embryos, and they were all female. I didn't think it was really a reality that men can have all female, but it did happen. There may be male in that collection, but the population was not as high as the female that we are now picking the excess of the sperm. So that is my advice for them, that the one you have, look after her, and she could be a blessing. So and be content with what you have. You think of those who don't even have any, and that will give you some respite.
Prof, thank you. Thank you. Always a blessing to us to share this, to educate us on this matter. God bless you, and Thank you so much once again.
It's a pleasure.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. I've discovered that men find all kinds of reasons to abuse their wives. The one I find absurd is the one that men actually abuse their wives because, or hit their wives, or send them packing because they actually have all female children. At least today, the doctor has told you that if your wife has all female children, you are the cause. But most importantly, I believe that God gives us that which he knows, which he believes it's of use to us, which he believes is good for us. So if God in his infinite mercy has given you children, because there are people who don't have, and he has chosen to give you all girls, all daughters, he knows why. Just make sure you take care of them. And you, woman, who is ever so frustrated, so sad, so unhappy, feeling abandoned because you have all daughters, believe me, those children are the ones that will take care of you at the close of the day. Go to God in prayer. Confess your sins for being sad and dejected and angry at God because he gave you all daughters. Go to God in prayer. Ask forgiveness for abusing your wife because you believe she gave you all daughters. God gives us as he pleases. And if he has given you daughters, just hold on. Later on in future, you'll know why. I will not trade my daughter for anything. She is a wonderful child. My sister's son, my sister's children are my children. Her son is my son. I didn't give birth to him, but he loves me all the same. So my prayer for you is that God will give you the grace to accept that which you cannot change and live with it and find joy. Because tomorrow she might turn out to be the first female president Nigeria will ever produce. Until I come your way another time, my name is Uduakabasi, meaning God's will. Perfect will of God. You have a great week ahead of you. And God bless you.
His word made flesh. He was shared.